Hello guys, thank you that you came. Today it's the, let's say, third part of the lectures on nephrology. And what's the flight plan for today? So, flight plan. So first of all, again, but it's for the ones which didn't come for the previous lectures, I'm going to tell you difference between tubular diseases, or we can say tubular interstitial diseases versus glomerular diseases. Okay, so again, or I will put the interstitium there. Always remember tubular, interstitial. Always when I talk about tubules, you always remember also the space between the tubules, which is the interstitium, of course. Okay, diseases versus glomerular. And you also already understand that it's never like yin and yang. It's never like black and white. If there are some tubules affected and interstitium, if there's some inflammation, well, some glomeruli will be or can be affected as well, and vice versa. So you know that it's about like the majority of the processes where it's going on. Then we're gonna again repeat nephritic, nephrotic spectrum, crucial for you. You have to know this by heart, and not for the exam, for life, for your patients. You have to watch the proteins. If there are proteins in the urine, it's alert. It's a big alert. Hey, we have to do something with this. Otherwise, these people will lose their kidneys. Okay, so nephritic, nephrotic spectrum. So watch out. Nephritic, nephrotic spectrum. And over here, nephritic, we were talking about glomeruli. Okay, that's important. And nephritic in general, yeah, you could feel that it's like whole kidneys, but no. Nephritic and nephrotic, that's about glomeruli. So nephritic, that's glomerular nephritis. So third, I'm going to just remind you the structure of the glomerulus, because we're going to use it. So like, let's say, important structures. Of the glomerulus, or important parts. 4, we're going to talk about, and this is going to be long because we're going to talk about glomerular diseases. So in this part, I'm going to name them. Glomerular diseases. And I'm going to name them, and I'm going to try to divide them in, we could say, many ways. But the main division is going to be, and we're going to talk about this even earlier during the nephritic, nephrotic spectrum, but still I'm going to stress what diseases are rather like really inflammation, and we would call them glomerular nephritis, and the other part of the spectrum, it's going to be rather glomerular nephrosis. Okay, so it's like arthritis and arthrosis. Okay, so if you have a joint problem and it's inflammation, it's itis. And if it's rather like in arthrosis, it's like mechanical point of view. So over here, we imagine that the glomeruli are not under some serious inflammation. It's rather a change. It could be after the inflammation, but now definitely inflammation is not the majority, because you don't see the so many immune cells over there. You don't see them there. Okay, so rather you think of a structural change, which could be change in the structure itself, which could be after the nephritis itself. But there are some processes which change the function of the glomeruli without any serious inflammation. And we'll talk about that. So the other term is nephrosis, like arthrosis. Okay. Then again, we're going to talk about chronic kidney disease, but now it's going to be really, I want to like net the information you got from the previous lectures, and I want to sort of summarize it over there. And I'm going to again repeat the main thing because you have to know it, and the more times you hear it, the better. But I'm going to really try to somehow summarize it for you. And basically, you should get the idea how useful it was to go through the different diseases, and now you can sort of grab it with the term chronic kidney disease. And last one again, just to repeat and to have a nice ending, which is an end-stage renal disease. Okay, so again, we're going to talk about end-stage renal disease, but now it's going to be after you will know everything, or almost everything, so I wonder how you're going to feel after this. So this is the flight plan, and let's get to it. So, still, the main differences between the tubular diseases, or you can say tubular interstitial diseases, and I will say tubular because I'm not able to say the whole word tubular interstitial. It's hard for me, but you always remember the interstitium over there, and glomerular diseases. Okay, so what are the main differences? Tubular diseases, or tubular interstitial, but I will just put tubular diseases versus glomerular. And actually, right away, again, we're going to bind it with the acute kidney injury and chronic kidney disease terms. And as I already said many times, it's mixing together. It's not black and white, never. Okay, but the majority of the tubular diseases, or most commonly tubular diseases, will be involved in acute kidney injuries. Okay, so acute kidney injury, that's much more common term you will use within the tubular diseases, because tubules need energy. If they don't have it, they die, and that's acute. Okay, compared to chronic kidney diseases, but as you will learn today, yeah, it's much more common that the tubular problem is going to be acute, but there are some cases, especially, for example, some slow inflammations of the interstitium, which you will take as a tubular disease, tubular interstitial disease, that you can put in chronic kidney disease. If it goes slower, it's chronic kidney disease. In comparison with this, with the glomerular problems, again, if there is something with the glomerulus, typically it's going to be, not always, but in most of the cases, it's going to be sort of slow. So that's why you will rather put it under chronic kidney disease. But there could be really lethal, fulminant inflammations that will just, right away send you into acute kidney injury, which are, for example, the examples of really fulminant vasculitis. All kinds of systemic vasculitis, or many of them, can really kill your kidneys right away, and it's acute. Okay, so watch out. Of course, most of the cases are going to be slower if we talk about glomeruli, because the thing you should imagine is a inflammation, immunocomplexes that are, let's say, are stored in the glomeruli slowly and building up and destroying the. But if there is a serious, like if the neutrophils, if there's too many of them, yeah, they can kill it right away. This is the merging point of view. Then, nephrotoxins. We already talked about them, and nephrotoxins, what I mean, or nephrotoxic substances, over here I mean anything that sort of works toxic and kills the kidneys. And typically with these toxins, those could be drugs, or it could be myoglobin, hemoglobin, all these kinds of, let's say, pigments and crystals that you are actually generating in your body. And if there is too much of them inside the body and they crystallize, for example, they can acutely injure your kidneys or kill it right away. So it's a very general group, and we talked about it already in the previous lectures. But remember, yes, over here, definitely you should imagine drugs. You should imagine, ethylene glycol that kills the kidneys, can kill it right away. Okay. In contrast to this, we don't talk about some, like toxins or whatever in terms of glomerular diseases. Yeah, we could say that immunocomplexes are toxins, but yeah, you get the point. Yeah, we're not talking about immunocomplexes as a toxin, so that's why I'm saying they are not direct, let's say, toxins against the glomeruli. Okay, except the immunocomplexes. Okay, and IgGs and whatever. Okay, yeah, but no drugs. They're like, it's not never 100%, but yeah, you shouldn't imagine any drugs. Primarily imagine drugs or toxic effect of drugs and other substances in the tubular diseases. Okay. Well, special thing is eosinophils in the urine. It's in the urine. If you find eosinophils in urine, I know you want to say glomerular diseases. No. Remember, this is one special case of tubular, and I should say really over here, tubular interstitial diseases, because it's the acute interstitial nephritis, which belongs under the tubular diseases. Okay, so watch out. It's the acute interstitial nephritis, which is typically allergic to penicillins, or it could be to allopurinol, or some anti-epileptic drugs, etc. So if there are eosinophils in the urine, rather think of tubular disease or tubular interstitial disease, because over here that's dominant. In case of glomerular, no, rather not. Okay, rather not. But again, it's not 100%. With the, let's say, I can stress, and I should have stressed it already, but I can again, or I can put drugs over here and that's it. So drug induced, yeah, and it's the same. Those are the nephrotoxins. What is important is nephrotic syndrome, and I'm going to repeat it again for you, but remember, nephrotic syndrome. Nephrotic syndrome is only seen, that means more than 3.5 grams. It's only seen in the glomerular diseases. You can have pretty high proteinuria, like 1 gram per day, but that's not the nephrotic spectrum. The nephrotic spectrum would mean 3.5 is the least, and anything more than is nephrotic. Okay, it can be 5, 10. So typically tubular diseases will not do nephrotic spectrums. They won't go over like 2. So remember, no. Over here, that's very typical. And all the glomerulonephritis can end with nephrotic syndrome at the end. Okay, and we'll talk about the definition again. Biopsy. Very important. Biopsy is a ultimate best diagnostic tool only for, or mainly for, glomerular diseases. Of course, you will find exceptions, but rather think of, no, I don't need biopsy in tubular diseases, okay? So another crucial thing, of course, and very typical, are dysmorphic erythrocytes. And typically, well, that means that the erythrocyte went through the glomerule. So, of course, it's not the tubular problem, it's the glomerular problem, okay? And treatment with corticoids or some, let's say, chemotherapy already. That could be cyclophosphamide, for example. So I'll put it here. Cyclophosphamide. So very powerful tool. That's typical for glomerular diseases. So you will use it in many of the diseases, especially the resistant ones. And if the inflammation is going on and you cannot stop it, you'll use cyclophosphamide at the end. Not in the tubular diseases, because tubulars, that's about ischemia, that's about toxins, that's not about immune system, mostly, except the acute interstitial nephritis, okay, which is over here, except this one. This one you can call also acute allergic interstitial nephritis, okay? But still, remember, in tubals, if you want to be general, no glucocorticoids, no steroids, no cyclophosphamide, okay? Good. So, next page. So, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell. And as always, check the description below for supplementary questions and other materials.